Okay, hi Year 8, Week 11, Lesson 3. This Session 3 is focusing on reading and exploration, and today we'll be exploring the text we read yesterday and did some comprehension on in a bit more detail. Just as a reminder, the text was children as young as 8 picked coffee beans on farm supplying Starbucks, and it was published in The Guardian on the 1st of March 2020. So, quick think. Can you remember what this word meant? Grueling. There's the icon to serve as a little prompt. Give you a couple of seconds to ponder over. So, it's an adjective and it means extremely tiring and demanding. Perhaps you might want to make a word web if you found it difficult to recall that word. Okay. Further, bit more daily review. Can you list 3 things you can remember about the article from yesterday? Pause the video now, try and recall, go back to the text from yesterday if you really can't remember. Okay, you may have thought about the companies involved, what happened, the illegality of children working at such a young age, and the thing itself. I'm just going to read you the first quarter of the text today because that's going to be our focus point for exploring it in more detail. High street coffee shop giant Starbucks has been caught up in a child labour row after investigation revealed that children under 13 were working on farms in Guatemala that supply the chain with its beans. Channel 4's dispatches filmed the children working 40-hour weeks in grueling conditions, picking coffee for a daily wage little more than the price of a latte. The beans were also supplied to Nespresso, owned by Nestle. Last week, actor George Clooney, the advertising face of Nespresso, praised the investigation and said he was saddened by its findings. The dispatches teams said some of the children who worked around 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, looked as young as 8. They would pay depending on the weight of beans they picked, with sacks weighing up to 45 kilograms. Typically, a child would earn less than £5 a day, although sometimes it could be as low as 31 pence an hour. Over the course of the investigation, dispatchers visited 7 farms linked to Nespresso and 5 linked to Starbucks. Child labour was found on all the farms. Okay, the big question we're thinking of today is, how does the writer create sympathy for the children working on the coffee farms? So, with that big question in mind, we're going to end up writing a what, how, why paragraph just to synthesize our view and our ideas. Okay, so my turn. I'm just going to model how I'd go about answering this question. Okay, well, I'm looking closely at the second paragraph and I'm looking for some evidence that the children are underpaid, and you will see that I've highlighted a particular part of that sentence: picking coffee for a daily wage little more than the price of a latte. And what I'm thinking about is, why does the writer make that comparison? How does that create sympathy for the children? And what are the significant word choice or phrases? And why do I think the writer has made that comparison? So now I'm going to turn that into a little bit of a short analysis, okay? So, my turn. What does the writer tell us? The writer conveys that the children get paid very little for their difficult work. Okay, very evident. Now my next focus point is how. How does the writer convey this? Okay, the comparison of the children's daily wage to being little more than a latte, notice I picked quotes from the text in quote marks there, serves to emphasize how little money they receive compared to luxuries readers would be familiar with. Furthermore, the comparison to a latte is significant because it links, and I will explore in a bit of detail how the use of a coffee comparison links it to the companies who are greedily making profit at the expense of these children. And then why I would add after that. The writer does this to create sympathy for the children who work long hours for a small amount of money. Okay, so what you can see there, what I've done there is I've just introduced what's the writer telling us. Then I'm exploring how, and that's why I really delve into the text and explore in a little bit of detail. And the why. Now I'm thinking about, why would the writer make those choices as a writer? What is their purpose for making those choices? So it's going to be over to you now, and in your notes you're going to need to answer the question: how does the writer create sympathy for the children working on the coffee farms? In your answer you're going to need to cover how, the what, and the why. Alright. So, same extract. Okay, look closely at the text. What evidence is there that the children are underpaid? Or what evidence is there that the children are treated badly or unfairly? What evidence is there that makes us feel sympathetic towards the children in their situation? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is write down the quote that you think you're going to use. Think about, as you write it down, how has the writer created sympathy there? What techniques have they used? What word choice or phrases stand out to you, and why do you think they've done it? Alright, so now it's time to turn that into a written analysis. So start with what the writer describes, okay, and then finish that sentence. And then how, explore in detail your particular quote you've chosen. What are the significant word choices they've made, and the why? What bigger point does the writer want to make through that choice? If you're really stuck, guys, I'm going to give you a few sentence prompts and identify a good quote for you on the next slide, okay? So you could start with, the writer describes the terrible working conditions of the children, for the what part. So this is if you're stuck here. If the how, I would suggest using this quote. He describes that the children are working 40-hour weeks in grueling conditions. The adjective grueling suggests that. And I would ask you to finish that, copy and complete that sentence and finish off thinking about what grueling means and what it's suggesting about the work the children have to do. And then the why, the writer wants us to. And what I want you to think about there is, what does the writer want us to think about by reading that quote? How does it help create a sense of sympathy for us, for the situation that they're in? Okay, good luck, guys. I'm going to pause the video, have a go at it, then there's one more task if you finish within the 30 minutes. Okay, if you've worked for under 30 minutes, then what I'd like you to do is you just go back to the text, choose another line that you think is effective at evoking sympathy for the children working on the coffee farm, and repeat that process. Really understand that process of, what does the writer tell us? How do they tell us it, and why? Why have they wanted to tell us it? Okay. Submit it to your teachers, ask for some feedback. Well done, guys, for your hard work. See you tomorrow.